Hi guys, today I'll be talking about this example which I have here on my screen if you see. And this is a simple example where I will demonstrate how the thread.sleep method works and how thread.join works. And if you see this class, which is simple thread class, and in this class we have a static method which is basically expecting a message, and it gets the current thread name and prints a simple message with thread name and the message passed to this method. And we also have another static class within this parent class simple thread, and this static class is basically implementing the runnable class, and we are providing the logic which we want to execute within the run method. And the logic is basically we have a simple array of string, and we are iterating through this array of string, and printing the message by calling thread.message. And as we are invoking thread.sleep method, it throws interrupted exception, and that's why you see we have surrounded thread.sleep with try and catch block, and we are catching interrupted exception. And finally we have a main method. In the main method, what we do, we have a long variable which we say patience, which is basically default, ideally it is a default 1 hour, and we have declared a patience. And you see that if there is a argument passed as a patience, we are basically calculating the patience based on the argument which is passed through command line. If it is not, this will be ignored. So in our example, we will not pass any argument to the through command line. We will use the patience which we have here. And if you see, we have a thread message. We are calling the method thread message for printing this message called starting message loop thread. And then we calculate the start time, which is current system time in millisecond. And then finally we have the thread object, and we pass the the object of a message loop class, which you see here. We have which we use to implement the runnable class. So we pass this message loop object to the thread constructor, and then we say thread.start. Once we do thread.start, we know that the thread execution will start. And we also just printing the message to demonstrate the execution. So we have a thread message here, and we check in a while condition that if thread is alive, we say we are waiting, and we do thread.join, which is another important method in the thread class, and we will talk about it later. And we do thread.join for a second, and then we have a if condition where we do is we take the current time in millisecond and the start time, and we ensure that if the current time is current time minus start time is more than the patience which we have defined, which is default 1 hour, we will basically interrupt the execution of the current thread. And once once the patience level is reached, we will interrupt the execution of current thread, and we wait indefinitely in order to wait for this current executing thread to finish. And then finally we print a message that the execution of the main thread is complete, because thread this call is basically being done from the main method, if you see. So yeah, this is about the simple program I have here. And what I want to demonstrate here is how thread.sleep works and how thread.join works. So just to give you a brief idea, what is the importance of thread.sleep? So whenever we call thread.sleep method within within the logic where thread is executing, then this method causes the current thread to suspend its execution for specified period of time. So if you see, we have thread.sleep 4000, and this is basically in milliseconds. So we say, the thread which is executing this logic, it should basically wait for 4 seconds before it proceeds. So let's say the thread execution start, it came to this for loop, and then it invokes thread.sleep and it waits for 4 seconds, and then it proceeds and calls thread message with the first element from this array. So yeah, and thread.sleep method also throws an exception, which is interrupted exception, and this method will throw this exception when it is interrupted by by calling the interrupt method on the thread object. So if you see, we have here thread.interrupt. Basically, we have this thread object, right, which you see here. And we call thread.interrupt, basically this current thread will stop its execution, and it will throw this exception, interrupted exception, which will be caught into this catch method, and we will print I wasn't done. Basically, we say that the current thread was not done, and yeah, and we will proceed further here then. So yeah, and the importance of also thread.join. So basically, thread.join, what it does is like when a current thread is executing, it waits for the current thread to finish its execution before the control goes to the main thread, which is here. And when we say thread.join, we can also specify the time which we want to wait for that thread to complete. So here we say thread.join for 1 second. So basically once we start the thread, it comes here and checks that thread is alive, and when we say thread.join, it waits for a second before executing this condition, and it will come here and see that okay, patience is not reached 8. So it will again check if thread is alive, it will print again still waiting, and then it will wait for another second. So it will go into the loop for 4 seconds, because if you see, we are waiting here for 4 seconds. So it will execute this loop for 4 seconds, and then this thread message will be printed by the thread, and then this thread will wait another 4 seconds, and then this message will be printed. So yeah, I mean, in this loop, this thread waits for 4 seconds, prints this message. So it will wait almost for 4 times before it finishes the execution. So let's run this program and see how what is basically the output of this program. So where is the main method? The main method is here. Let me quickly run the main method, and we check the output, what is happening. So if you see, we say thread.start, right? And we printed first starting message loop thread, and then we said thread.start, which means the thread execution started, and then we say thread message, which is so basically once the thread execution starts here, we say that we printed this message waiting for message loop thread to finish. So if you see, after printing this message, I think the thread started executing this this for loop where it waits for 4 seconds, and while it waits for 4 seconds, the control comes to the main method, and we are checking if thread is alive. We are printing still waiting and wait for a second. So basically while this thread is waits for 4 seconds, we are printing this still waiting message 4 times by doing thread.join. And if you see, we say still waiting, still waiting, still waiting, still waiting for 4 times. And once the waiting period is over, which means that thread.sleep has reached 4 seconds, it will print this first element from the array, which is mares eat oats. If you see, it has printed this, and then again it will go and wait for 4 seconds. And while it waits for 4 seconds, we print still waiting 4 times, and then it prints the second element, and so on. So if you see, the last time it prints a kid will eat IV2, which is this element. And once it printed, this thread execution is finished. It will and here in the main thread we will check if thread is alive, which means it is not alive because the execution is already finished here. So we come out of the while loop, and the main thread prints finally it is done. So yeah, this is the complete execution of the program, how it works. But let's do a trick here to show what will happen if we do not do thread.join. So if we do not do thread.join, what will happen? This while loop will execute n times before the sleep reaches 4 seconds. So because we were waiting earlier for 1 second for that thread, that's why we are printing still waiting only 4 times. But when we comment this thread.join for 1 second, it will print n number of times before it prints the first element from this array. I mean, it will not go into Stack Overflow, but still, this while loop will print still waiting n times, this message n times. So let me execute and see. So if you see, we are doing still waiting, so it just goes in the loop and it keeps executing this loop until this 4 second sleep time breaches, and the thread prints this first element, second element, third element, and fourth element. So if you see, we have been waiting. If you see, and we say that a kid will eat IV2. So if you see, we did print the last element, and still I believe while we printed the last element, still we were checking if thread is alive, and you see we still went into the loop, printed, still waiting message. And I think there was a point when this thread was not alive anymore, so we came out of that for loop and printed finally. So now you see why the thread.join is important here, because it doesn't wait. It doesn't allow the main thread here to execute basically n number of times. So let's uncomment thread.join, and let's make it 4 seconds. Let's see when we wait for the thread to for 4 seconds, what happens. So I mean, here now, earlier when it was 1 second, it was waiting for 1 second. So it was, this while loop was executing 4 times. But this time, if we wait for the thread for 4 seconds, it will only execute once. So let's run it again and see what happens. So you see, we have started the message loop thread, waiting for message loop thread to finish. And see, we just have printed still waiting just once, and then it waits for 4 seconds. While it waits for 4 seconds, the thread prints again, this other message, does eat oats, and then it goes again here and waits for 4 seconds. So you see, exactly it is executing one time, because we are waiting for this thread for 4 seconds, which is equal to this sleep time. So yeah, that's why we are saying that it is just executing once every 4 seconds. And you see, finally the main thread executes this piece of code. And let's do one more thing. Instead of you know instead of waiting for instead of having the patience level 1 hour, let it make 1 millisecond only. So patience is 1 millisecond here. So what will happen, thread comes here, it will check. Once the thread starts, it will print this message, it will print waiting for message loop to finish, and as soon as it comes into the while loop, it will check that it will wait for the current thread for 1 second, and once that wait is over, it will execute this piece of code, which is about subtracting the current system millisecond with the start time. And if it is above patience level, we say, we are tired of waiting, and we throw the interrupt exception, which means the execution of this part will terminate, and we will print I wasn't done message. So let's do that and see how it works. So I have modified the patience to be 1 millisecond, and let's run this program. And if you see here, we say starting message loop thread, and waiting for message loop thread to finish. And when it came to this while loop, you see here it says still waiting, and it waits for a second basically, and then it executes this portion of code where it finds that current time in millisecond is and difference of current time in millisecond and start time is greater than patience, which is 1 millisecond. That's why we print tired of waiting. We call this method, you see, we printed tired of waiting, and we interrupt the current thread execution. Once we call the interrupt method, this thread will terminates its execution, and it will throw the interrupted exception and which we are catching in the catch block. And that's why you see we are printing here I wasn't done. So yeah, this message will be printed in the catch block, and then finally we come out of the thread execution is basically over, and we come out of the thread part, and we are now in the main thread, and this is where we are printing finally message from the main thread. So I hope that it is clear how this thread.join and thread.sleep methods are working, and how a thread which is waiting for something and it throws interrupted exception can be interrupted by calling the thread.interrupt method on that particular thread object. So that is it for today. Thank you very much for joining me in this video. If you like the video, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.